Onegaishimasu! Welcome back to the Goju Ryu Karate Center. Today, according to one of our very senior commentators, I'm about to commit blasphemy once more. So, last week we did a video on a kata that is a supplementary kata that we had picked up, myself and my friend Sensei Mario, who runs another dojo down the road from us, called the Geki Sai Dai San, and credit and tribute must go to the organization that we were part of at the time, which was the International Shotei Martial Arts Academy, headed by Mr. Arnold De Beer, Sensei Arnold De Beer. So, that aside, I said the important part about the kata was not that it would become something very important in terms of grading, but rather what it brought to us. And then I said that the kata is meaningless, it's nothing more than a romanticized dance until you practice bunkai. And as always, you know, it's a process. You go from the kata to the bunkai, from the bunkai to some hojo undo, some supplementary training, and then you come back and it does like this continuous cycle. And as it does this continuous cycle, we start to get better and better at what we're doing. And we become more and more proficient in our art of Goju Ryu karate. Okay? And then the other point that was the major point was that Geki Sai Dai San is a very useful tool as an instructor to help your students bridge the gap between Geki Sai Dai Ni and Cipher Kata. Somebody mentioned Geki Ha, which I have seen a couple of videos of, and it does the exact same principle. Okay, so tonight, he's alive, he's back, for a little while at least. We have Brian, the Deshi, and he'll be facilitating the ideas of Bunkai for Geki Sai Dai San. Hi, Brian. So,
but before we get to the Bunkai, I just want to share with you that we are having our first international Zoom seminar on the 11th of June 2022. Link to book is in the description, and we'd love to see you there. Now back to the delicious bunkai.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show from this side, so Brian steps and punch Jordan. So 1, 2, maybe the first movement. Back, let's do right hand, 1, 2. Same movement. I'm going to do it with right hand again. 1, 2. So there's a 3 basic bunkai for the very elementary bunkai for the first movement. Bunkai number 2. So bunkai number 2. What's interesting here is that the pulling hand comes back to the solar plexus to protect the solar plexus. So best angle for this, let's go left leg back. So as Brian punches 1, it will be 1, 2, protect and strike. Okay, can also be the more hard version. So punch 1, right side please, 1, 2, similar to Sisoshin kata. Alright, and obviously it could be punch, right hand please, grabbing, pulling. Alright, and somewhere in the videos I mentioned that whenever the hand is coming back, it's coming back with something in it, and this really captures this quite nicely. Obviously, something that I've neglected to show in the first 2 bunkai is that palm strike allows you to use your fingers in various ways by just simply closing your hand. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, a couple of interesting ideas. Bunkai number 3. Locking down. Right, Brian punch Jordan. And the idea of trapping this arm, pulling. Right? The benefit is a little tap on the leg, person goes down. Okay? Could also be done slightly different. Imagine if Brian was a little bit bigger than me. So Jordan 1, Now, it kind of resembles segue kata. Obviously, if I pull down, I'm drawing him in and striking. Open hand again, grab it afterwards. One. Just plain old Hike-uke. One. So deflect under eyes. Very nice, dirty fighting. Okay. Obviously, we do 2 or 3 of those. And the other option is that he punches one. Then it's immediately block, grab, kick, land. Let's do left hand, please, Brian. So 1, 2, pull, elbow, in. Okay, wrist. So the moment you hit here, you're hoping for your opponent to collapse in. Same sides, please, Brian. So he's coming down, 1, 2, and it's just hitting the back of the hand straight into the jawbone. Okay, so on this side, it's a Ko-uke going forward, focusing on that. Block, pretty much the same kind of principles as our generic kind of bunkai. So you punch low, 1, 2. When this hand comes back and you pull it, maybe you're coming from underneath, you're grabbing, pulling it, therefore the fingers are pointing down, and just a short strike to the solar plexus. And let's go that side, please. Same kind of idea if we were going to the inside, obviously looking dangerous. 1, 2, 3. Reality is, I might hit him here, but this hand is going to come. Okay? Open hand strike with the crossover. It's something that I pointed out in the video that we tend to do in one without the arm, and that is typically the way that we practice within the OGKK framework. However, we cross our arms when we do this, and the idea is not that the one kata has to be identical to the other, but rather that the variation allows us to bring in the obvious variation in the bunkai. So Brian punches 1, and we move in. It's this idea of pull, catch. When I pull and catch, he comes forward, and then obviously the strike. Okay, and then we can obviously the foot sweep stomp. We can do that onto the ground. Foot sweep and stomp. The Hike-uke is still the same. Mawashi as a counter. So the back end of the kata we do Hike-uke, mawashi-uke, kake-uke. Alright, so this lends itself to slightly more flamboyant bunkai. So we punch this 1, so I do 1 block. He takes second time, 2, push him away. He comes in with another attack. 3, 4, and 5. So now catch this way, kick, and 1, 2, 3. So now attacking that arm, rather than his head or his ribs, attack his arm, try to break his arm. Okay, so different way of doing it. And it's the idea of letting the bunkai build and flow. Alright, and pretty much all the same. And then we move to the end. 1, 2, 3. So, Chinam attack right side, block, strike. So that's the most basic, okay? And then if we decided to build on it, let's go left side. So maybe I move to the outside. Maybe I move to the outside. So now I might reach in, pull, and then take it the other way. This hand helping to redirect it. So that may be one hand, maybe across my arms. And again, if you watch the other clip, I said, you choose. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I like this. It's really, really nasty. Okay, let's go that hand again. Go. 1, 2, 3. Maybe I push this way. I'm using this hand, this way. Right, a little bit watery, but there's some kind of value in it. The idea is this: pull and strike, very similar to sepai. So in sepai, pull and strike. You bring this idea into the kata earlier, into the basics for the students. Alright, so that's kind of like the basic bunkai. Alright, so, and now for something completely outrageous and different. Let's go times wide. Jodan. 1, 2. A little bit more aggressive here. Attack or attack. Alright? Like we did the flow drills. 1. So as I do this, block right. 2, 3. Let's see if we can capture that a little bit better. Okay, so 1. Alright, Brian, block. Right, block, stop. 1, push it out the way. Okay, so maybe this happens. Now, we move into the third position. Okay, so the idea being that one movement will lead into the other and we'll entangle the hands a lot more. So if we go 1 in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we finish at the end of one direction. So, ever wondered why they seem to be different and why there's a change in direction? Some people say, well, it's the end of an idea. Some people say you're now repositioning to a new line. So for some people, the idea would be 1, 2, no, go back. Back block. However, and Jordan 3. And then attack again, 1. Now maybe a new line, 2. Some people say it's this change of new line. I like to change the line all the time because something I learned from my coach when I was a competitor was that if you play backwards or forwards only in the game called karate or kumite, if the other person has that rolling energy and you're kind of backpedaling, they're always going to score. They're going to roll over you. Alright, so the best thing is not to roll backwards. So you have a couple of choices. You can adopt a mindset like maybe some of the shotgun practitioners, where as the person is starting to roll at them and they're coming forward, they're immediately cutting off and hitting. And they're not creating the shift back and forward. So this I think they would call like block counter, sen, no sen. And then moving back block and moving forward counter. I think they call go no sen. And then if memory serves me, the totally intuitive, like as the person attacks, you know they're attacking, this kind of intuitive thing, they call this sen, sen, no sen. So you've got that choice. The downside of this, when you block badly and you get it wrong, your nose gets reshaped. Obviously, I had a very good nose block and a very bad hand block. The next lesson is, if you have a very good nose block and a bad hand block, maybe move your feet. Might be a good idea. So, our idea of changing the lines and attacking and becoming a little bit more flowing, this is super cool. Alright, then we take the ideas 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and if we just like do open hand version of what some people's bunkai would be, let's go that side. 1, 2, 3. So instead of me kicking you in the groin, Brian, step back. 1. You can parry with this hand. Parry. 1, 2. Block again. 3. His hand block. Alright, now 4, 5. Maybe block, strike. And this is very much like the Renzuko kumite, the up-down kumite of Geki Sai Dai San. It kind of works. Let's go again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe a berai. Alright. How about we bring in some segue? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, maybe I should stop. So much fun to be had doing bunkai. 1, 2, 3. Punch 1, 2. Alright, so yeah, that next attack comes. 3. Let's do it again. I like where I'm going. 1. Outside, Hike-uke. 2. Mawashi, hit. He now takes the, what do I call it, haymaker. Pull, catch. Next move. Kick elbow. Instead of elbow, pull. And then, okay, he's on the floor. Stomp on him. Alright. How's that feel, Brian?
Interesting.
Interesting. Okay. We've done a lot of variations of the arm elbow takedown. So those are pretty much the same concept, because only variation is this hand. Alright, and so for sometimes people sometimes this way, sometimes this way, sometimes your hand kind of just ends up in that position because you've pulled it down, and so you end up in this kind of position. It can still work as long as you press and leverage your body. So if I cam my body, that's the effect I create. So if I go 1, and then I give him a backhander. In Afrikaans we call this a klap. More appropriately we call it a PK. Boom. And if I bring this up and over, immediately by hyperextending his back and his head, it's easier for just pressing him down. Okay. I could use that to the next movement. So 1, so I go here and then pull, and then it's like Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi, you know, the not so real Miyagi. Did you get that one, Brian? All right, just pull, strike. Okay, and if I really wanted to, or if Brian decided he doesn't want that and he's going to shoot underneath it, then maybe he's going to end up trying to tackle me and take me to the ground. So I don't know if that's going to work. 1, 2, I do this. He starts to shoot for my legs. Cool. All right. So 1, shoot for my hips, and hopefully don't put me in the glass. Hey, let's go. 1. So I do this. What, Brian? Yeah. And now I'm doing this. Come on, Brian, go. Now, I step back. I think they call it a sprawl. I put my hands on his head, twist, down. Now, we carry on. Brian, put this leg down so they can see. No flap in the way. Pull, smash. Alright, so some ideas for Geki Sai Dai San. It's such a cool interpretation of Geki Sai Dai Ich and Geki Sai Dai Ni. It has great value in allowing people to explore without tainting the beautiful kata that are our original authentic kata. Okay, so without being too blasphemous, what we really want to be able to do is bring in something that will bring in a lot of interest, a lot of fun, a lot of excitement, and allow people to have something that they can break apart and essentially dissect. And it shouldn't affect the more traditional components of our karate that are being preserved. All right, just on a more serious note, many people do karate through the eyes of preservation. We are preserving the ways from, okay? And some people are more looking at everything through the eyes of conservation. As a young kid growing up in South Africa, you learn very quickly, because of our wildlife and our number of national parks, and that you learn quite quickly that there is a fundamental difference between preservation and conservation. Conservation is effective management. Preservation is just keeping everything the same way it was without changing. Most of the time, there's a need, a very small need for preservation. But we often need to move with the times, and conservation comes to mind when I think of this. And in an ever-changing world where Goju or Shotokan or Shotei or instructors outside of their natural bubble and their home in Okinawa or in Japan are being questioned about the validity of what they're showing or what they're teaching, this is critical. We are consistently being called out. We sometimes have to allow ourselves to explore and to show a little bit more, even if it feels like blasphemy, a little bit more of what we know, all right? And allow it to flow out and let people see. It's the whole idea of this channel. It's just to put the information out there. I'm not a grappler, I'm not a boxer, I'm not a Muay Thai guy, and kudos to all the guys who are grapplers and on top of their game, and who share great grappling knowledge, and who do Muay Thai and are fantastic Muay Thai exponents, or boxers. All right, it's the same as watching somebody share the science of playing chess. You know, you might not appreciate it because you play drafts, Chinese checkers, whatever you want to call the game. But you know, we're playing along the same kind of lines, we're playing with the same principles, and that I think is critical. So this is a little bit of Bunkai from Geki Sai Dai San, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you like and subscribe to all the right boxes, and as always, I hope that you do what your sensei says, and this should hopefully inspire you to do a little bit more of your own personal training and try and explore with your karate and explore everything. Obviously, there's going to come a time where you have to do the sacrosanct, the important things, the most sacrosanct things within our karate world, essentially are our kata. And when it comes down to grading and to the ritualized parts of the grading, maybe you do sanbangi, maybe you do some kind of yoksuko kumite, or you do some renzuko kumite, whatever it is, keep it as your sensei said, because those parts are part of the essential preservation of our art. As always, have an awesome week. Arigatou gozaimasu. Hi Brian, come quickly take a bow. We don't know how long Brian will be around with us, so every week when we get Brian back in the dojo, it's like, yes, we got a full. Alright, Brian's busy doing some work and he's gallivanting around South Africa earning some rands. That's our currency. Very weak currency. Hi, arigatou gozaimasu. Arigatou gozaimasu. Sayonara, see you next time.